Thank you for coming back and checking out the Forging Shorts. Um, so today's video is going through the Seax. So you're going to see me working on that. We're building that off of a railroad spike again, using that. You're also going to see me working on a project with the leaf spring here. Trying to forge in a Viking hatchet with that, with the leaf spring. I chose a leaf spring portion that actually attaches to the body of the vehicle. That way it already was circular. All I had to do is use the horn of my anvil to open it up, kind of reshape it as I needed it there. It was actually pretty decent. It did make it a whole lot easier than trying to forge in like drift an eye and then forge it in. Gonna have a video of that coming up soon of me making a hatchet using that project, that process. So this is last time. As you can see, my daughter Abby is out here swinging a hammer with me. This is actually the last time she comes out in shorts. It's very hot, as you can see real quickly there from my sweaty back that blocked the camera. Forge kill is kind of not fun when it hits your skin. So she was dealing with that the day I decided to try to play around with the forge in shorts. I found out the hard way when I had a bunch of forge kill blow off the piece and into my shear. So metal flakes that are anywhere between 12 to 1300 degrees hitting skin, and no, let's just leave it at that. So I speed up all the videos basically to make it so that you can see as much of the work that we are doing, but in a shorter time, just to kind of make it a little bit easier on everybody. So a lot of pounding here, a lot of hammering. So I'm trying to open up that eye for the hatchet, where I'm going to end up putting the handle. Tried to take a picture of the work, and it just did not look good. Abby again with the hammer. She can move some steel. So I'm pretty impressed with her. So definitely, as you can tell, an anvil moves all over the place on me while I'm hammering. I'm going to have to get some stuff that I can lock it down while I'm working on it, and then undrill the screws, and because right now that's a heavy piece of wood to try to move with that 75-pound anvil on top of that. It's not going to be a fun day, as I'm sure anybody that's had to move anything heavy can imagine. So even though this is sped up, you can tell there's some downtime while I'm waiting for the steel to heat fully up. You got to kind of look at it. I'm waiting for it to get to where it looks like the steel is almost sweating, and that's when I'm ready to pull it out and start hammering. So forming more of the eye there on that hatchet. It's going to turn into the hatchet. You can see how quickly that it turns dark. It's no longer good to hammer it when it's that dark. There you go, more of the sweaty back. You really start seeing the shape forming in there, the Seax or sexton, however you want to call it. There was Nala. Nala's scared of the forge. It's loud, it's hot. She doesn't like it. She doesn't like fireworks or thunderstorms either. Loud noises kind of scare her. Theodore, he don't care. He's just a big dumb puppy. Nala's an old girl. So, little father-daughter talk here as we're forging. Good times. this point, I've been hammering for about 2 hours, standing on my feet the entire time. I got a chair. Not afraid to admit it. Still going out here. It's just forging, surprisingly, is a long process. If you watch some of the YouTube videos, I mean, they speed it up. You ever watch Forged in Fire? Yeah, they definitely speed it up. So, they fit two 6-hour things in 5 days at the house, all in an hour. Yeah, they speed it up. It's still going. Needed a break. Because my daughter complained about the forge scale, I was trying to brush it off before she started hammering it. Kind of worked some. She still said she was getting a bunch of stuff blowing off on her when she was hammering. All right, at this point, I just focused in. This is the second day of forging for the 4th of July weekend. Actually, this was before 4th of July weekend. I was at a point where I just needed to move forward on the Seax, and it was easier to deal with one item in a forge than 2 items, trying to play with 2 different items. So at a certain point, you got to focus on a project when it gets to one area where you can't really play around with 2. Sure, as I go through this, there'll be 2 or 3 items I'll be playing around with at the same time and focusing on. But right now, I just want to give my attention to one item at a time at a certain point. So, all right, handle wise, because you see I'm working more on the
Got a
tank
rough
today.
forge out on the Seax using a railroad spike, as you can see. So what I'm going to try to do today is go ahead, grind off the forge scale, grind in the profile of the blade a little bit better than what I have forged in. So one of the biggest things is working on the tip here, getting that a little bit smoother than kind of the rough tip I got here today. So this is starting to come together pretty nicely. Taking a little bit of time in the forge to get going. Not as long as the first knife though. Figured out a few issues from that one. Was able to get it going. Since this is a chopper, probably going to leave this fairly thick spine in as tack as I can. Gonna try something new though. If you watched the previous 2 videos when I was grinding on the knives, I was wearing my gloves, and I had to be careful when I switched from grinding on the blade to the handle because the blade was still hot, and the handle was cool, and so on and so forth. So I'm going to try holding it in with a magnet, about a 30-pound magnet.
All right, so before I interrupted myself, as I was saying with the handles, most of the real spike knives that I've seen, gun shows, knife shows, everything else, basically the handle is the back portion of the rail spike. I look at it differently. From having used the knife in different various areas, carrying a knife in combat, training with a knife to be able to do what I needed to do to survive combat. I kind of got a different look on how I'm going to make the handles. So I try to make the handles to the hands that are going to be handling them. So like for my dad's knife, that first rail spike knife I made on the channel here, mine and my dad's hand is really pretty much the same. So it was easier to forge that out. As you're going to find out later on in the video, my brother has a much different paw than I do. So we had to make some arrangements on that. But this magnet is doing fantastic. Um, Before I was burning my hand on there, I was grinding away on my glove. Had to, so didn't realize how bad it was until I got that magnet. The other thing I like with the magnet is I can actually see what I'm doing, and I saw a lot of dust, a lot of metal dust, and I'm breathing in and inhaling. I didn't quite like that. Um, so probably the last time I'm out here doing this stuff without a mask on, because that was kind of dangerous. Knowing that I'm putting that kind of crud in my lungs. I'm just trying to get the design in there, get it forged down, take out any unnecessary hammer marks. Um, Really what I'm doing on the grind right now. I hammered in the tip as best I could, so I'm trying to refine that tip using the grinder. Um, so it was a lot easier to do it that way. Kind of happy with how I hammered the tip in, but still, you want everything to be nice and refined when you're going to go use it. Grinding before the quench is definitely a great idea. It's a whole lot quicker with the grind, even with having the wrong sandpaper on there at first, wrong belt. I had 120 versus the 60 grit, so it was taking me longer to grind at first, and had to flip that out. Favorite place to grind right now on that thing is up on the top. Bites into that metal a whole lot better and gets it moving. So, does start getting hot. I need to grab the glove, but not nearly as bad as it was before. Getting to the point with the grinding, burning my fingertips every now and then. It's going to look like I'm trying to hide from the police or something. I don't know. Let's see, I can break out the magnet again using that, trying to keep my hands protected from the heat that generates all that friction. So at this point, I'm trying to measure out the handle, make sure I actually got enough. By have enough means I actually have the handle long enough to what it's going to need. Gonna find out. I don't know. I actually blow out one of those grinder attachments for the Dremel, which is not fun. I'm doing my darndest to try to keep my blade safe and figure out where I can make up an inch on that tang. But eventually, I got to come down and realize there's only so much I can do. Get some nice sparks off that though. It is July 4th weekend anyway, so don't worry, I'm gonna have some better sparks coming up.
Alright, so got on the phone yesterday, talked with my brother who I'm making the Seax for, and found out that his hand is about 4.5, 5 inches. The handle I've got on here, the tang, so far, is about 1.5 inches short for that. So I've got to get it back in the forge, extend out that handle. Hopefully, with that, I'll be able to thin it out a little bit more with lengthening in it, so it'll fit better for the wood handle I'm going to do on there. So right now, steel's in the forge. I'm waiting for that to get up, but you can hear it. As you saw, I kept pulling out the tape measure. That's why I kept pulling out the tape measure. I was trying to figure out if I could grind out without losing more of the blade. I got to the point where I'd have to lose about 1 inch of the blade, and I wanted to keep that about 6 inches since a Seax is primarily kind of a chopper, all around kind of dagger knife. So I wanted to keep the blade a little bit longer for that very reason. So I'm going to try to fix that. When I was doing some of the grinding yesterday, somehow the tip got bent, so I'm going to try to correct that real quick while I got the forge out anyways. So here we go.
Alright, so back in the forge. This is my stupidity in the shorts, forging in the shorts. Not a smart idea. Just leave it at that. I ended up getting 4 scale all in my shoes, so it definitely did not feel good. Got about 1.5 inches. I gotta expand that tang. A lot of hammering. Ended up hammering in a new hole, new warp. Surprisingly, this blade didn't warp during the quench like the other one did. On my dad's knife, I had to re-quench that twice because of how bad it warped. I had to undo it and then get the warp out because there was no way I could grind the warp out. And I got to keep measuring, hammer, 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 measure, hammer, 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 measure. So it's kind of a long process, but it's definitely worth it because it makes it a better fitting blade to the person using it when you have something that's hammered out, made for the hand. Feel like you got a whole lot more control of the weapon. Trying to knock out some forge scale that showed up there. So as you probably noticed, I do speed up these videos quite a bit. There's a lot of video I also take off. This was probably almost an hour video of these several weekends grinding and forging and everything else on this blade. Even with that, I mean, this video is almost 37 minutes long, trying to shrink it down. So once I got everything done, I went ahead and drilled the tang. I had the chance for the retaining pins. Luckily, I didn't break drill bit after drill bit like I did on the other 2 knives. So I was doing this before the heat treat. If you're going to make a mistake, find a new mistake to make. Don't keep making the same dumb mistakes, because then you never have learned.
So one thing with metal is it's magnetic. So since we're outdoors, it's hard to see the changes in the color that you need to see to know, okay, is this ready for quench or not? So what I'm going to try to do is, when this is hot enough at temperature that it needs to be to quench, it's no longer magnetic. So that's why I got the magnet, not only to help with the grinding, but also to find if I'm at the right quench temperature. So we're going to throw this in the furnace, which is definitely going here. For the retaining pins when they go in here. Then we're just going to need to grind off any new forward scale and get it going. All right.
this point, I'm going through the normalizing process. Did this about 3 or 4 times, taking it in, taking it out, and do the hokey pokey and fling your blade around.
Alright, no tings, no warp. I came out of the quench perfect.
Alright, so I'm using my angle grinder more this time. So using the angle grinder to take off all the forge scale and stuff actually worked out really good. Definitely sped up the process versus just using my belt sander. So yeah, this little plastic folding table has been a workhorse for me. Taking this thing out camping several times, so it's ended up being my part of my food prep station, all kinds of stuff. Use that thing to help sight in rifles. So yeah, it's a little workhorse. Definitely is a nice little workhorse for with the forge here. Put it through its paces quite a bit. The other work area I use up on my porch, that's actually some plastic shelves I haven't installed yet and or put up in our overflow room where I got a bunch of the forge cord paint. Yeah, this definitely quickened up the process of getting the forge scale off, so I can start just doing any minor grinding I need to with the belt sander, and then start putting the edge on the knife. Take some time to get that forge scale off, since I had to do a lot of hammering. I had to trying to get rid of some of the hammer marks, even though hang it's not really going to be seen, but on that back piece I left exposed with the through tang, it is going to be seen pretty well. One of the things is I'm doing this voiceover, I'm kind of interested in how much quicker this voice recorder time goes versus the video time. Constantly stopping the recording here, the voice recording, because it's going faster than the video is. Yeah. A lot of grinding on this. A lot of grinding period on any blade I've made so far. So yeah, Theodore's out pretty much any time I'm working on a blade. I'm out in the forge, Theodore's out outside with me. He doesn't come outside, he's barking and carrying on. So a lot of my forge time on the weekends is when my youngest is taking her nap. Then when she wakes up, I get her and sit with her and come back out and finish up wherever I was at on the forge, on the forging process. Get some nice sparks there. It is the 4th of July. State of Virginia, you can't have anything that sparks over, shoots sparks up over 5 feet or 3 feet or whatever. Definitely going 5 feet with some of the sparks coming off there, getting the force scale. So at this point now, I've moved on to making my handle. Using the jigsaw, pretty stupid. I could see myself cutting off a finger or two. Would need a bandsaw, but that's later on down the road. Using the angle grinder with the cutting attachment actually worked out really well. Um, Sometimes it felt like more like I was burning the wood than I was actually cutting it. But it gave me an idea to do a burn handle on this one. I showed my brother some pictures of that. He liked the look of it. Time to get very dusty with wood here. So continue to work on these handles, scales. So starting out with the block of wood, shape down, get it going here. Takes a lot of time. It's almost as much time making the handle sometimes as making the actual blade, trying to get everything finished in here. Yeah. One thing is I got to be careful with, since this handle is bigger than the last one, is I do pick up a lot of the green off the belt sander paint onto the handle. Kind of, then I got to sand that off and keep on going. Just like I was dropping the hot metal a lot, I dropped that handle a ton while I was trying to shape it. Somehow, video didn't catch it all, I guess, or the speed up, you don't see it drop out, or I guess I'm quick enough to pick it up that you don't realize it dropped out. Which is good. Makes me look like I'm a lot better. Hey, if I didn't down myself out on the voiceover, you never know. Got to show off my work, you know. I've gotten split. Use the angle grinder again to split it. So I'm trying to. All right. So use the angle grinder to cut those in half again. There right now I'm trying to shape in my, because this is a through tang. I'm trying to grind out, or actually bevel out for the tang to fit into the handle scales. Using an attachment I've used with working on plywood derby cars. So used to be a commander with a group called Roll Rangers. It's a ministry, basically forming young boys into men through different principles and teachings, dealing with the Bible and outdoors. Great area. If you're looking for a replacement for Boy Scouts, please check out the local church. Definitely someplace to look at with Royal Rangers. Pretty sure Theodore remembers the last time I was working on handle scales and I cut myself a couple of times and was bleeding all over the place because he keeps checking on me all the time as I'm working on this one. But he's a good dog. This Dremel attachment was a whole lot faster than using the chisel. Uh, I had to buy new ones. I don't know what happened to my old attachments. I think I might have left them on a work day. We were building it. So Abby's back out helping me here. Not only does she swing a hammer, but she also helps me with the handle skills here. Um, she's a lot better artist than I am. Probably do a lot better handles than I could. So it's kind of hard to see the pencil marks, and I kept telling her to look for the pencil marks. But with the burn on the wood from the angle grinder cutting through, made it real difficult for her to see that. She did a good job her first time using that attachment there. That thing chews up the wood, leaves you with a nice coating of wood on your lap when you're done with it too. but it sure makes things a lot easier, and it's a lot less painful than that chisel again. I got to show her how everything goes through and making sure everything attaches where it needs to and make corrections where it needs to. So now I'm trying to get my pins in there after drilling the holes for my retaining pins and the scales. Once I find the right retaining pins, I'm going to have to cut them to size. Then we're ready to epoxy it all together. We've almost got a real knife. So this point of the process, it becomes pretty quick getting everything finished, the fit and polish. One thing when it comes to epoxy, I just don't need to be, I need to be more generous with my epoxy, I guess. End up not having enough epoxy to totally seal everything in. I get the basic seal down, but it's not enough to kind of spread out from the tang and through the handle. So I got to mix up some more epoxy. That's what I'm saying. I need to be more generous when I slap that epoxy in my makeshift little bowl there and mix it all together. Everything's coming together pretty nicely at this point. Getting the epoxy in there. I'm seeing I'm getting epoxy all over the handle, but I end up grinding that off here in a little bit once everything sets in on that blade. Used a couple of different sandpapers. I don't know why they didn't show up, but I went from 80 to 120 to 220 trying to smooth out that handle. Get it nice. This first attempt at burning did not work. That attachment there on the propane bottle, I think my dad's had that ever since I've been alive. So that's at least 30, 40 years old. It just would not light. It was a pain. So as you can see, I upgraded, got a new one. Was able to get that burn in real quick. And linseed oil seemed to work pretty good. Got a little upset with this attachment, the knife grinding attachment for the kid onion that I started using. Just felt like I was blunting my edge every time I was trying to use the portion that was to put the edge in. So I kind of correct that, try a different portion of the area where you can sharpen the knife on that attachment. That actually worked out well. Seconds ahead. So using this attachment, polished the blade, definitely worked out well. It got nice and shiny. Tried to refine the polish with the Dremel set. Ended up actually screwing it all up. So the last portion of the video is let Abby help to undo that mess up on the polish of the blade. So I'm counting every stroke I take with that thing. Otherwise, I'll get real uneven real quick on the polish and on the blade edge once I start doing the edge here a little bit. So it's real precise that you need to be. Here we go. All right, this is Abby. We're kind of switching off. I'm working on the blade edge. She's working on repolishing the part that I messed up. So we kind of switch. So that way I don't have to keep switching out. Go all the way down for her to polish it, and then I've got to go back and redo on the blade angle. So this ends up being a quicker process. A little teamwork here. Father-daughter teamwork, so can't complain too much. Gotta keep Had to adjust her a few times because she was kind of pushing the handle back further than where she was at with the blade. Eventually she got it. I didn't have to correct her anymore. Here we go. Doesn't look like it in the video, but I am going all the way through the edge, all the way to the tip for grinding in the blade edge. This is running pretty quickly at this point. So once you get down to where you're making the handles, once the handle scales are made, it's a pretty quick process after that. What I liked on Daniel's knife, I had the scales already made. All I had to do was cut them out and kind of shape them up to the knife. Definitely a lot easier and quicker process than making your own scales out of a hunk of wood. So it's pretty much almost to completion. Yeah, I hope you all enjoyed the video. Please like and share. Um, leave your comments. Let us know how we can better these videos or what we can do to drive your interest up. As always, thank you for stopping by the Forging Shores. If you like what you see, give us a holler and try to make something up for you. And that way you can have your own personalized special Forging Shores knife. Thank you and have a great day. Bye.